Welcome, everybody. It's episode 1. If this actually technologically works, I think it's a successful episode 1 because yours truly has been trying to figure this out for the last, let's just say, a long time because I'm very slow technologically. And we tested it yesterday. We had a preview show, which I think we had 5 people that saw it. So hopefully this is working. If you're watching, just send us a comment. We can see your comments come up. That way we know that we have a listener. How are you guys doing? Let's introduce everybody to the show. First of all, my name is Jon Roethlisberger. I'm one of the 3 hosts of Drive to Gold Radio. We call it radio. We understand it's streaming, but we love radio. So we're going to call it radio. Just get over it. And I'm very happy to be joined by, to my screen right, Brian Jones up there at the top. Brian Jones, would you like to say hello?
Hi, guys. Really excited. Again, we did do a test yesterday. We did it without Alicia, so it was a massive failure. Really looking forward to this today. This will be much better.
Naturally. Well, and you mentioned her. Last, certainly not least, we're very excited that Alicia Sacramone Quinn will do the 3. You like the 3 names? You like 2 names? You know, Alicia SQ. What do you prefer?
Honestly, if you ask Brady, it's just Alicia Quinn, and legally, it is just Quinn. That being said, nobody knows me as that, so I have to throw my ridiculously long maiden name in the middle. Yeah,
I do have to say I probably would. If somebody said, "Hey, do you know Alicia Quinn?" I'd be like, "Huh?
Yeah.
No. So let's break the ice. We have a great show coming up, and it's if you're listening or watching, you probably know that we have a very special guest that is coming on today, Shawn Johnson East. She is Olympic champion from the team you were on, Alicia, back in 2008. And she's awesome. And she's had a big announcement recently that she is pregnant again. So I think that's kind of why this is the perfect time to bring her on. But before we bring Shawn on, I thought it would be a good opportunity for everybody watching to kind of get to know us because we're going to be spending years together. I mean, in syndication, this would be like Larry King Live. This is going to go for decades. So let's let them have a chance to get to know us. We each have some questions for each other that'll let you know a little bit about Jon, BJ, and Alicia. So I'll start. And this one's easy for me because everybody knows me by my allegiances, like what teams I cheer for, that type of thing. I'll start. My allegiances are all about Minnesota sports, which has been very difficult for me. Vikings, Minnesota Gophers, anything Minnesota, I'm your man. Gophers, Vikings, Twins, Timberwolves, yikes. That's me. BJ, you go.
Well, you kind of left out Seattle sports like Starbucks. Isn't that a team you root for quite a bit? We'll
talk about my Starbucks problem later. This is a Christmas cup, by the way.
If you're talking allegiances, first of all, my allegiance is to a good game. So across all sports, I want to see Game 7. I want to see it go 10 rounds. I want to see it come down to the final 2 minutes. Maybe not in the NFC title game the other day, but let's move on.
Yeah, let's get to it.
But I went to school at the University of Tennessee, so I'm a big Tennessee football fan, Tennessee basketball fan, and contrary to Johnny's Vikings, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Green Bay Packers fan. I also like the Milwaukee Brewers. I lean toward the Wisconsin sports. I don't know why it ended up that way. I don't know how Johnny and I ended up kind of attached at the hip on this radio show, amongst other things. But that's where my allegiances lie.
Did you become more of a Wisconsin fan when you met me and you knew I was a Minnesota fan? Is that kind of where that?
It was more after going to Wisconsin and experiencing like the Holy Trinity up there, the beer and the butter and all the things that are Wisconsin in the football. But you did help push it the last mile.
You have a point there. I'm a Minnesota boy. We're bred to hate Wisconsin, all things Wisconsin. But how can you hate a state that they are known for brats, beer, and cheese, and you could even throw in a little chocolate? Like those are the things that you guys are named. You can't hate that. You can't hate that. So my hat's off to you. And I just hate the Badgers and Packers. That's it. All right, Alicia, your turn.
So allegiance-wise, I'm from New England. I'm from Boston. So
New England. I love that part of Canada. It's beautiful.
I'm from Boston, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not a huge sports connoisseur. Did gymnastics, so I was like in that little bubble. But we watch hockey, so I like the Boston Bruins. I'm more a player fan because my husband played football and we bounced around a bit. So I had to like be on the bandwagon for whatever team he was on. So I'm a player fan, but college-wise, my husband went to Notre Dame. I've been up there a few times. It's pretty awesome. I get why they call it God's country and the hype. But football-wise, if I had to pick a team, I'm saying Patriots.
Yeah. All right. I mean, you're not a sports fan, but you're married to a former NFL and Notre Dame quarterback. So,
this family's loaded. So, obviously, I was a gymnast. Brady played football. My brother-in-law played for the Packers, AJ Hawk. My other brother-in-law plays for the New York Rangers and is a hockey player. And my sister-in-law played college soccer, and my other sister-in-law is literally one of the most beautiful people I've ever seen. She was in like pageants, and she just, she's winning at life.
Wow. Well, did they vet you then? Did they Brady said, I met a girl, and they're like, all right, what sport? How high did she get? And then you met the minimum bar standards for, not that kind of bar, like.
The minimum bar standards for height definitely was on the lower end of that. Athletically, I passed. They weren't a huge fan of. I do kind of have like a mouth of a sailor.
I appreciate that.
Doesn't love it, but she accepts me.
Speaking of mouth of a sailor, I kind of unfortunately have that problem also. And I'm in my desk just the other day, sitting next to my 3-year-old, and I said a word angrily towards technology, which I think I should get a pass. Like, if it's technology, the bad word should not be held against you. And I may have dropped the one that has to do with your mom first, and then the F word second.
Fire truck.
And in perfect cadence, my 3-year-old next to me says, mother, and then the other word, and I go, I hope my wife didn't hear that, because it was, and a day later, he uses it in perfect context, just completely out of the blue, which I don't know if I should be mad at or should be proud of.
My next question was going to be, did you high five? Was there a fist bump?
Yeah. It's one of those, and we're going to have Shawn on in a little bit, and we're going to talk about parenting, and maybe we can bring this up. It's one of those parent moments where you're like, I really want to laugh a lot.
You scold, and then you fist bump in that order.
All right, so Alicia, your turn to ask us a question, but you have to answer it also.
Okay, so what would you sing at karaoke night? I personally would sing the top one. Creep by, do you not know this one?
Yeah. Of course.
Super 90s, but I'm really into it. So why creep? Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Creep.
You made me think of that movie, The Other Guys, where Michael Keaton keeps doing the references. That's a good one. That's a good go-to.
You, DJ.
I'm going to jump in on this one. My go-to, Alicia won't remember this until I say it. My go-to at karaoke is Total Eclipse of the Heart. That's always been my go-to, even before that movie, The Hangover, came out. Even before that, and Alicia and I actually did that song at karaoke here in Crossville, Tennessee, many moons ago, and crushed it. We absolutely crushed it.
I don't put that past me. Also, you're right. I don't remember that.
It was fun. It was a good one. It was good. It was right at, I think that was 2009, right after she had been in the games. So she was definitely in a headspace, I think, to cut loose a little bit. You chase that Olympic dream, you catch it, and after that, you're like, let's get ice cream. So we did. We found it in front of a microphone, and again, it's not often your first pitch goes over the fence, but we crushed it. We totally.
You bring up karaoke in Crossville, and people out there probably don't know where Crossville, Tennessee is, although judging by some of the comments, all those people know where Crossville, Tennessee is. Karaoke in Crossville, Tennessee, I don't want to go as far as it's a national pastime, but it's at least a national pass out time. I mean, it's karaoke in Crossville, it's incredible. My karaoke go-to song probably, I mean, I'm all about the cheesy, late 80s, 90s rap song. So, I mean, I got to go Baby Got Back. I mean, I just think you don't, if you have a bad voice, which that's me in a nutshell, you can just cover it up. You can kind of just yell it. Everybody knows the words. A lot of people are singing it, so they don't actually hear you singing it. And yeah, I'm going to go with Baby Got Back. BJ, what's your question?
My question, I want to know what TV shows are you guys into right now? Is there a book you're reading right now or that you're about to start? What's the last movie you watched? Like, what are you guys doing with a little bit of that me time? And again, we're all parents, so that little bit of me time is exactly that. You don't get a lot of it, but what are you guys into as far as movies, shows, books?
Go ahead, Alicia.
So we are watching The Boys on Prime Video. I don't know if you guys have seen it, heard of it.
Yes.
It's so good.
So good.
Very graphic. It's a lot of gore, which, I'm surprisingly okay with. So Brady and I are very much into that. And then before that, we watched Queen's Gambit because everybody did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't even tell you the last movie I saw was Croods 2.
What 2?
Croods. The Croods. Come on.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
I haven't seen a lot of movies lately. I hate to say it. I really want to go to a movie. I'm kind of depressed. I go by the movie theater in Turkey Creek by me, and it's depressing, man. I love movies. You get the popcorn, you get some candy, and you just sit down and you're just all into it. And now I can't do that. It really, really hard for me. Sorry. The question was, serious. Megan and I are into Yellowstone right now. We're into season 2, which it's pretty intense. It comes out strong, man. I mean, it comes out that season 1, you're like, whoa, this is pretty serious. We also like Handmaid's Tale, which apparently they've been on a sabbatical for the last half century because they haven't had a season in 2 years. And Homeland that was one of our favorites. Homeland, Handmaid's Tale, which they need to change the name. Handmaid's Tale, I tell my buddies, hey, what are you watching? Handmaid's Tale. They're like, what? Handmaid. It sounds not cool, but it's really good. It's really good. BJ, did you already tell us, BJ?
I did not. So I'm in the Bermuda Triangle right now. I've started WandaVision on Disney Plus, and the movie I watched most recently was Tenet. So if you guys have seen that,
was that good?
It was good. But if you guys have seen that Spider-Man meme where the Spider-Mans are pointing at each other, that's WandaVision and Tenet, a show and a movie that completely confuse. I'm super lost, drilling into the carpet trying to figure out what was going on in the movie Tenet. If you have not seen Tenet, make sure you are ready for a mental workout. It is.
Oh, that's not good for me.
It is a lot. It's a lot to take in. So, so enjoyed both, but I'm a lot of questions, a lot of question marks.
Okay, let's finish this up. It's coming up on 1:15. I think our guest is going to come on here shortly. Let's finish it up. Just one random fact about you that kind of gives an insight to who you are. We started with BJ before I did. Alicia, go ahead.
My wingspan is 3 inches longer than how tall I am.
Let me just digest that for a second.
Yep. So 5'1" this way.
Interesting.
5'4" this
By the way, what have you been working out a lot lately? I mean, you just did this. I'm like, dang.
My kids both make me carry them all.
Yeah, true.
I don't lift arms. These guys look strong, but they're for show. Can't do anything.
Oh, yeah, but hold on. Don't undersell mom strength. That's a thing. I guarantee if you had to move, I don't know, your fridge right now, you could do it. You would just knock it out and then, no problem. So
that's true. I would throw my back out while I did it, but I wouldn't feel that the next day. All
right, BJ. Interesting fact. Keep it clean.
Interesting fact about me. So whenever I'm working out, doing busy where I'm doing stuff, I have to have some noise on, and I always pick one of those hour-long montages on YouTube of movie trailers. It's movie trailers, and it's just on a loop, and I can cook for my kids. I can build a house. I
love that.
And it's just oh, look, there's Spider-Man. And then I'm back to doing rows with the dumbbell, whatever it is, whatever. So I literally will be out in the back 40 here chainsawing trees with my phone on a stump, and I've got movie trailers going.
You know what? I love the movie trailer thing too. I go to the theater, and the more movie trailers, the better. At the beginning, some people are like, "Come on, let's get on with it." I'm like, "No, bring them on." Every movie's great when you see the trailer.
I told my wife, I was like, it's an hour straight of movie trailers. And my wife looked at me like I might as well have rearranged the furniture in the house without her knowing about it. It was unbelievable, the reaction. But that's me. That's my thing.
Well, I'll give you my quick fact because we're about to bring in our very special guest here in a second. First of all, as we bring in our special guest, we do have listeners, not listener. So it's not just our wives, BJ.
Mom and Dad.
Yeah, no, we got a few listeners. If you guys have questions during the course of the show, please, we can see all your comments as the show is going on, or at least I can, and I'll pass them on to these guys. So ask any questions. My tidbit is that I am well, this is BJ's too, and he didn't use it, so I'm going to use it. I'm a Christmas junkie. I like Christmas a little bit too much. And so, I celebrate starting in September, and it goes through January 1st. It'd go longer if my wife didn't make me take everything down. But and at Disney, I'm a Disney junkie. I love Disney. And when I say Disney, I love everything about it. Some people hate it. Some people love it. I'm on the love. Love Disney. All right. Speaking of greatness, like Disney World, she's just took a sip of water. I'll let her swallow the water. And we're going to welcome.
Throw it to her now.
Only
Hi.
Johnson to the show. We're so excited to have you. This is the first of the new season. We had kind of a season, but this is the first video live stream like this of Drive to Gold. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Great. How are you guys?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if I was any better, I'd be drinking a Starbucks out of a Christmas cup. I mean,
wait, how do you still have a Christmas cup?
Well, see, here's what so
seriously?
Technically I'm reusing it, but I got it today. Okay, and it was just sitting
I bet you can order some off of Amazon.
Seriously, can you?
Amazon has everything.
I got the Christmas cup, and my wife got the regular cup. I'm like, sorry. Anyway, so hey, let's dive right into it, and let's talk about the big news, because that's kind of why we wanted to have you on. Is baby number 2 is on the way. Talk about what's going on. How is it? How you feeling?
Good. Lord help me. I need advice from everybody. It'll be 2 under 2. We're due the opening ceremonies day. The world has told me that. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, which is great.
That's cool.
But it's been good. I feel good. Chasing around a toddler and being pregnant is a little bit different.
Yeah, I bet. So 2 under 2. Alicia's got 3 under 2 and no 2. Or is it under? No. I had 2 under 2. BJ, how close were you to 2 under 2? And Alicia, how close were you to 2 under 2?
So I have 3 under 5, but my older 2 are 23 months apart. My younger 2 are 18 months apart. So it's not great.
What about you, BJ?
Well, when I found out we were having a girl with our first, all of space and time was at a standstill at that point. So I couldn't tell you. Now we've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I married Captain Marvel. So
Literally,
my job's not that hard. I'm not going to downplay it, but it's our kids, and we live at a tremendous playground. So we don't have the usual craziness. Like if our kids get nuts, I just send them to the lake with a jet ski, and we're good.
That sounds great. So give Alicia, let's start with you. Give Shawn your best 2 under 2 parenting advice.
Honestly, just embrace the chaos. There's like no right or wrong way to mentally prepare for that.
okay, good.
Like you're never gonna sleep again.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So you're always tired. You will quadruple the amount of trash your family outputs with each child you have. So we have so much trash all the time.
Yeah.
Order another trash can because it's insane.
I hate to admit this, we illegally dump trash at least once a week because we don't have enough trash can storage to do it.
Well, when you say illegally dump, you're probably talking about your neighbor's trash can and some random one behind Wall Street.
Yeah.
Screwing it on the interstate or something, right?
No, I'm not throwing it out the window on the highway.
It's like gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Alicia on the 2 under 2 advice. You have to pretty much care about nothing. Just keep them alive and I see like behind you, your walls look beautiful and clean. Just let that go because
Okay, good.
it's not going to last. And you can sit there going with the magic, magic sponge or whatever, everywhere they go. Just let it go. Just call it art because your walls are just going to have handprints everywhere eventually. And you just got to love it and enjoy it. And when you're, 20 years from now, you'll repaint. And
Yeah.
So do you have names picked out? Or are you gonna find out whether it's a boy or girl? Give us the insight.
So we didn't find out with Drew, our daughter. It was a surprise when we had her, which was the greatest surprise ever. My husband convinced me to do it. I was total type A and wanted to find out the second I could, but he convinced me not to. This time I think we will find out.
Yeah.
I need to control at least a little bit of something.
I feel like we should get a decent amount of say in the whole process.
Yeah.
Did you guys find out?
We did, and it's funny because our parents gifted us one of those early ultrasounds to find out, and one of their friends was there when we got the gift, and this lady says to us, like, "You're going to find out early. Don't you want that surprise when the baby's born?" And my wife, just dead face, was like, "It's going to be a surprise." Like
no matter when we find out, it's going to be.
We find out today or whatever, it doesn't matter. The surprise is coming. We rather just enjoy it now. So I'm on Team Shawn with the surprise will be what it is.
Yeah.
A little bit of added prep and info will help. Especially
I will say with the first, again, I was completely against it, but I've never seen my husband so passionate about something ever. So I was like, fine, whatever, I'll give it to you. It was the coolest moment in the world to have him tell me, like when they handed the baby to him.
Oh, I bet.
He's like, "Baby, it's a girl." And I was like, "This is pretty cool." And he's like bawling. I just don't need to do it again, though.
What if you were like, it's.
Yeah.
What if he would have handed it to you and been like, "It's a black lab"? And you'd be like, that would not have been cool. No, but BJ, you brought up these early gender tests that come out. And there was one, Megan was telling me, and she goes, "Yeah, there's this one, it's a mail order one, and you send it in, and if they're wrong, they refund you." And she said something like it's 60% accurate. I'm sitting there going, so right half the time, and they still pay you, and you just have to refund half of them. I'm like, I can do that. Like, the mail, I'll dump it in the garbage and go tell them it's a boy, and then you just pay it back. Like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant, brilliant marketing. So, are your kids going to be gymnasts?
I don't know.
What do you want them to do gymnastics? Do you want them to follow in your footsteps, or?
Honestly, I could care less. I want them. I love gymnastics. I think it's amazing for little kids. I think it's great, obviously. But I want them to do whatever they want. I want to put them. I think it's my job to put them in everything and let them figure out what they love. But I don't want to be the one that's like, you have to do gymnastics.
You're not going to pigeonhole into it. No. So let's bring it up to current events. We're hoping to have some guests on for you actually during the course of the show. We're going to surprise you with some guests. But, so it's been a crazy. Olympics are coming up. I'm sure people talk to you about it, ask you about it all the time. I'm sure Alicia, it's the same for you. Talk about this last year, and what are your thoughts on what these athletes are going through to get ready for Tokyo?
I can't imagine. I feel like Alicia, everybody can say the same thing. That's like, we had that date on our calendar forever. And we started training for that years and years and years in advance. And it's like, I couldn't imagine your finish line being pushed a year. That changes everything. And with a lot of these athletes having their gyms closed, having Olympic trials thrown off, having just everything, I don't even know how you go back to the strategy board, the drawing board, anything. And I think the only comfort athletes can find is knowing that everybody's going through it, and it's kind of like they're all in the same boat. But yeah, I could not imagine, especially given how hard the year was to begin with, having that be so uncertain, I think is really challenging for a lot of people. Yeah.
Speaking of getting ready for the Olympics, somebody that is taking advantage of this extra year. We're going to bring this person in real quick taking advantage. I think you might know her. Maybe you're even a teammate with. Have you heard of Chellsie Memmel before? And look at her. She's actually in the gym working. It's amazing. Welcome, Chellsie. We just got done congratulating Shawn on baby number 2. What do you think?
That's so awesome. Congratulations. I was so happy for you when I saw that.
Thank you. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that you're training.
Yeah, me neither.
Like I sneezed and peed myself the other day. I can't imagine.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that happens. That my wife tells me all the time. That's amazing. Chellsie, thanks. And Shawn brought it up. Can't believe you're training. I think that goes for pretty much anyone that knows anything about the sport of gymnastics. How's it going?
Yeah.
It's going well. I'm having a lot of fun. I never thought I would be here. Why not? I mean, I know you said the time. I literally just finished my last turn. I was like, I gotta come over.
That's amazing. What was your last turn? Was it a good one?
It was a good one. I'm still shaking a little bit. My dad made me do a takachev in between the bars. I haven't done that yet. So I'm like.
Did you catch it? I mean, the world's waiting. The world wants to know. Did you catch your first takachev between the bars?
I did.
All right.
You're talking about doing release moves right now.
Like, honestly, I just got scared thinking about it.
My hands are sweating.
Thinking about doing a release move.
I think my hands started sweating when I saw grips, let alone talking about doing a kick.
Right.
Shawn, when was the last time you did, real gymnastics?
Years ago.
You came back again, right? You came back for a shot at 2012, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So I got back to Pan Am's in 2011 and then retired right after that.
Crazy. Alicia, what about you?
I went back and I made 2 world championships in 2011, and I actually tore my Achilles there in Japan, which
That's right.
not ideal for anybody. Don't tear your Achilles in Japan.
Don't bring the Achilles up in front of a 32-year-old.
Achilles of steel. I'm like, she's like, I only train when I want to train, and nobody's making me do anything.
Alicia, I distinctly remember being home and Chow was FaceTiming me every night, like just I think for sanity purposes. And he told me about it, and he literally, like when he was telling me about when you snapped your Achilles, he said he ran over to you and you said you broke the floorboard, and he said he wanted to cry.
He literally was, don't stand up. I'm like, oh. And I was like, my foot was just like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Can you not talk about injuries in front of Chellsie?
Well, I just want to take this opportunity to say that Chelsea's a tremendous motivator in our house. We all know the challenge of getting your kids to do anything, but we've got the Inside Gymnastics magazine, in the house. The girls know Chellsie very well. So it's easy to look over at your 5-year-old and go, you pick up those socks and you put them in the hamper. She's doing giants and takachevs. Do it now. Pick up your toys now. So, this example goes way beyond, hey, I wonder if I could still do a cartwheel. So thank you so much for that, Chellsie. It's been a fun thing to watch. I hope you're enjoying it as much as we are, because we're definitely,
absolutely.
Every post, every challenge, we're in there. We're with you.
I think the last time I saw you, Chellsie, in person was maybe at camp a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And we have this rule at camp, if anybody's ever been there, that if you were a retired gymnast, you were not allowed to do gymnastics at camp. Like, not where you come to relive your glory days, right? And then Chellsie, sure enough, she's doing double layouts, and I'm like,
a sweet rip the double layout.
This is
amazing.
An exception. And I'm going to just say, that her experience at camp that summer is what propelled her into this comeback. I don't know if it's true. I don't even want her to answer it because I'm going to go with it. But what I do want to hear is, Chellsie, we gave Shawn, all of us parents gave Shawn some parenting advice going into 2 kids, and you have 2, correct?
Yes.
So it's your chance as a parent of 2 to pass on some words to Shawn, soon to be parent of 2. Don't scare her.
Yeah.
Well, then you're going to have to give me a minute, because I was just thinking about my morning trying to get him out of the house. So there's that.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, it's so much fun, and they're going to be they're going to be best friends. And that's the coolest thing for me as a parent, to see how well Dashiell and Audrielle play together. I don't know. And you're just going to think it can't get any better. And then it does. And then they grow up and they do something even cuter. And it's like, all right, I can handle those tough days.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Well, Chellsie, we're so thankful that you joined us and surprised Shawn a little bit. And yet, do you want to show us a turn yet? Like before you go, is there something we can see? Like, I don't know. I mean, anything? No?
I'm good.
Oh, man. All right. Well, Chellsie, good luck. We're certainly all going to be cheering for you, and we can't wait to see you. What's the next goal for a competition? I believe I saw you wanted to go to championships, hopefully. And is there something before that?
I'd like to go to the classics first. We were talking about Winter Cup. I just don't know how ready I'll be. So we'll see. I'm just going to keep trying to progress.
Cool. Well, we'll be cheering for you. Thanks.
Good luck.
Do that hi for us.
Congrats, Shawn.
Thank you. Good luck, Joe.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Well, there you go. I mean, I had no idea Chellsie was coming on. That's crazy.
Just even hearing the words Winter Cup and Classic. What?
Yeah, I know. Can you? My shoulders, I think, physically popped out of socket when she said Takacha. I'm pretty.
But again, the most impressive thing, like she's killing it.
She is.
She looks better than she did in 2008, like with her skills and stuff.
And it's funny to go back to John's story, when the last time Chellsie was at camp, and Jon is such a stickler for that no training rule.
Yeah.
And he's watching her take turns down the tumble track, and she does a sweet whip layout. And Jon's like, wow, that's pretty good. So even in his mind, it was like, no rule. Wow, that was awesome. So she is it's really impressive.
I think the fact that she's enjoying it and doing it on her own terms makes it that much better. And it's a healthier relationship with gymnastics. I feel like when we were kind of going through it, it's a very business mindset you have. You aren't thinking about it anymore as that joy you had when you were a little kid. You're like, oh, the Olympics. You're like, no, this is my job. I'm going to go get it done. I want to like dominate, and then peace out. And that can be a lot of pressure, and it's not as fun. And she actually looks like she's having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm curious at Shawn's opinion, and all of you guys actually, but you know, there's athletes that people watch, and whether it's in gymnastics or other sports, and they go for a long career. Tom Brady is the one that comes to mind, obviously, right now. But there's athletes that retire and come back to their sport, and there's always this segment of the public that is critical of them and says, you know, why are they doing that? Why don't they just move on with their life? And maybe they're not as good as they once were, but they still try to keep going. And I have a strong opinion about that. But I'm curious, Shawn, you kind of thought you might have been done after 08, but you weren't. You came back and tried again. What's your opinion on athletes that want to keep going or continue a career for what seems like a long time to those on the outside?
I think 1,000% props to them. I mean, I know I'm done. So like I can sit here and say, I cannot believe Chellsie came back. Just like, but I think when you see someone trying to she's attempting the hardest competition in the entire world. It doesn't matter if she ever makes it back to the level that she was. Just by attempting it, it's like one of the greatest feats in the world. So it should be respected, and major props should be given to that. I think if you're going after a passion, nobody should be critical.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because I love that you said that. People that are critical of that, to me, have never done it.
No.
And as I sit here, I mean, I was a male gymnast. I mean, I was a professional male gymnast, but I use that word loosely. And I was, for the most part, basically participated completely in obscurity compared to athletes, even to you guys. But I didn't care. I loved doing gymnastics. I did till I was 30. And was a long time back in my day. I think I was one of the oldest US guys in a long time. But I was like, I don't care. I love going to the gym and I love doing my sport. And I wasn't as good in 2000. I didn't even do all around. I wasn't good enough to do all around where I was in 96. I'm like, it didn't matter. Like, I'm doing what I love to do and trying to be great at something. And I don't care what people think. And honestly, people shouldn't, if you haven't walked in those shoes, and, you know, Tom Brady could be a backup. Let's say he's a backup quarterback for 5 years. I know it would kill him, But if he's doing what he's passionate about and trying to make it, I think kudos to him. I mean, I don't know what Alicia and BJ, what you think, but I love it. I love seeing her do it.
I think it's just so impressive. Like the fact that he's had 2 kids, I think of gymnastics as like my alter ego and like another life I lived. I can imagine like having to somehow fit gymnastics into my like parenting life, and the fact that she's balancing all that and she still like runs her gym, she's coaching, she's judging, she's doing all these things. She's like Superwoman. Yeah. And like I think at one point when I first found out, I was like, she's lost her marbles. Like she's but now that after I've talked to her since she announced and she was doing stuff, she's like, honestly, she's like, I was just messing around and it just kept going. And then she got to where she is now. And I think that's fantastic. And I will never say anything bad about Tom Brady, even though he left New England. But I think when you are disciplined at your craft, like he is, he looks fantastic. He's playing better than ever. He's like on a strict diet. He's like doing what he loves, just like you were saying, John. Like, who cares what anybody else has to say? I think that's the one thing I realized the older I got, the less I care about what other people think and or say.
Yeah. Funny how that works out. You wish you could get in your younger self's head and tell them that. Your kids, now that we're all parents, it's like the one thing, man, besides just be kind, is don't worry about what other people think. BJ, any comments on that?
No, I think we're all on the same page. I think it doesn't even have to be sports. Like if someone was an author and was churning out greatest hits and then stepped away from it and decided to go back to it, absolutely. And I to Alicia's point, I don't even think I would notice if there were detractors. Like, why are you doing that? That doesn't even come up on my radar, because if you could, especially if it is a sport, which I think we all just identify with as fun, if you can continue to do it, do it. If you can keep playing. But I mean, we all have had instances with our kids where they're like, I just want more. And you're like, no, we got to get in the car. So yeah, just keep going. And if you can do the sport and has any sort of professional connotation to it, you can make some money or afford to do more of the sport by continue. Yeah, absolutely. Play until you're 95, until the wheels come off. And but I like what Shawn said too. Like Shawn pointed out that she was very much, having a conversation with herself. Like, I know where I'm at. I know what I've done. And with all of this information, I can decide what's next. And she made a very sound decision. Like, I'm ready to move on to something else. That's great.
Speaking of the wheels coming off, I think that's the perfect segue into our next guest that we have coming in. And Alicia, you're going to know exactly what we're talking about. The wheels have come off. Conversation.
The wheels are on. My wheels are on. We're chugging along.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hi. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. It's only Wednesday, by the way. Did you know that? Only Wednesday.
I know now.
Hey, if you know it's Wednesday, I feel like this is a successful week for you.
Honestly, now that you put it like that, you're not wrong. I knew what time my meetings were this morning.
Hey, we
such an adult.
Okay, now you're lying to us. You did not know what meetings were. We were just congratulating Shawn on number 2, and we thought this was a perfect opportunity for you to make maybe a similar announcement. Do we have anything?
Yeah. Any baby fridge?
No, I drank a whole bottle of wine last night. I never bring this up though. I woke up this morning and I was like, man, there's going to be a day where like I have to wake up and like take care of a child. Like I was like, that's going to be something I have to do. And then of course I was like, you know what? But that's not right now. And I went right back to bed. I know, Shawn, you have a child and then another one on the way.
I know. It's crazy.
I just feel like you're just so happy. I love that.
I think it happened like every single day at some point during the day. I'll like take a step back and I'll see Drew running around the house and I'm like, whose kid is that? And then I'm like, I have a child. How did that happen?
That never changes. I look at the kids all the time. I'm like, that's mine.
Yeah.
That's a little mind blowing.
My wife does that. Like I'll go running through in like just a t-shirt, like blue, and she's like, what is this? How did I end up here?
I mean, when Bridget wakes up in the morning and comes out of her parents' face, and her parents are the same thing, you're like, mine.
No, come on. If you've seen pictures of Bridget's new place is nice.
We never left. Bridget, did
I
you
would
know
say,
that I
hold
called
on.
Bridget on one of our broadcasts this season?
Say what?
I called when we were broadcasting Alicia and I this season. I called Alicia Bridget by mistake on the broadcast.
That's amazing.
You say by mistake, but just thinking about me. That's so nice.
Hey,
I actually did have someone tell me that, and I was like, "Oh, that's nice."
Everyone gets really upset about that, John. Just saying.
Oh.
The girl's name.
I can tell my heart. You can tell her my heart. So Bridget, real quick, we wanted to surprise Shawn because we're all congratulating her on day 2, which is awesome. But what are you? What's your story these days? What are you doing? Are you still selling?
So yes, I am. I had my sales meeting this morning.
What do you sell?
I work with construction companies.
I know, aren't you in sales though?
Yeah,
Yes, I sell heavy duty and industrial lubricants.
Oh. Okay.
Stop giggling.
That totally does not seem like you said, hey, what do you think Bridget Sloan's going to do? And, it's 2008. 15 years from now, what's Bridget Sloan going to be doing? She'll be selling industrial lubricants to industries, whatever. What?
Yeah, you didn't think I'd be selling lube? What do you think I'd be doing?
How does it happen?
I don't even know. I feel like I get asked this question when I do tell people, like, oh, yeah. And I always try to, like, not say directly, like, oh, yeah, I sell heavy duty and industrial lubricants. Like, I try to get around it. So I'm like, oh, I work with construction companies and, and then at the end, I'm like, you know what? Here's what I do. Yeah, I don't know. So actually, my mom ran into a friend of hers at Sam's Club. She's a frequent member of Sam's. She goes to Sam's Club all the time. I swear she goes there just to like hang out. Which if she ever watches this, that's really cool, Mom. Like you're still super cool, but she goes there a lot. Anyway, she ran into like a family friend, and at the time I had just quit my first job, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't tell you, Bridget lost her job." And I was like, "Well, first of all, I didn't lose my job. I quit my job to be better about myself." And she was like, "Well, I talked to so-and-so today, and they have an opportunity for you." And then literally 2 weeks later, I had an interview and got the job. And here we are 2 years later.
So your mom got you the job of selling lube.
At Sam's Club.
Yeah.
She did. That's what
Mother Mary for the win.
Mother Mary always comes in clutch.
Is this the time that Bridget gives advice for 2 under 2? Is this when we do that?
Yes.
What is the best? She has nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love they've made me soft. I told Alicia this the other day. Like, I am emotional. I never was emotional. And like, my nephew called me just to tell me he loved me. Like, my sister's like, "Hey, Leo's on the phone." And I was like, "Oh, hey, bud." And he's like, "I love you." And I was like, "Thank you." I was like, "I love you too." She's like, he wanted to call you. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." They've turned me into this like,
I bet you're an awesome aunt. I bet they love you for sure. You're probably like, influencing him in such good, positive directions.
I'm the cool aunt. I've like already told my sister and my sister-in-law, I'm like, listen, I will always be the cool aunt. And when they get older, they're going to come to me and I'm going to love it. But I was like, I'm the cool aunt. I'm the one that sneaks them cookies. And my niece just started climbing on everything. And instead of like helping her, I'm like, ooh, I'm like, keep going, keep reaching.
You got it.
Helping her, she's falling. I got it. That's great.
I'm like, oh,
I love it.
yeah.
Hey, just so you know, it's karma though. When you have kids and you're, it all comes back on you. They're going to do the same thing, and you're going to be so mad. So just keep that.
My mom has warned me about that a lot because I'm like, man, Leo has so much energy. I'm like, gosh, that kid is he's like a little Energizer bunny. He never stops. And she's like, man, one of my children were like that. I was like, oh, they must be really great now, really improved. The glow up has been real for them, right? And she's like, you were a nightmare, chaotic child who ended up doing really cool things, but she's like, you were a lot to handle. And she's told me, for the record, if I was a first, I'd be an only. Like, she was like, there's no way I would have had kids after you. And I was like, well, good thing I was number 4.
Gosh, that's love, man.
I know. My parents. I know.
Any,
4
any,
babies.
Any good we were Olympic teammates stories that you guys, the three of you, have that you'd like to share? Any?
So in 2008, I was really weird. I like didn't socialize.
Not a lot's changed, but go on.
You're right. I'm still really weird, but like I now socialize. So I feel like my adult life is like totally different, obviously, than my 16-year-old self. But
I hope so. Oh, I hope so.
I feel like stories though, like I just stole food all the time.
Yeah.
From Shawn or Alicia?
No, I mean I would just like steal food for myself, but I'd be like, hey guys, look what I got. Like check out the bag, and it'd be full of, you know, snacks.
You guys were in the village, right? You didn't stay in a hotel or anything like that. How was that? Was it comfortable? Was it nice? Did you have like a house with just you guys, or an apartment, or how did it work?
It was a 3-bedroom apartment.
Right.
And I hostel took over the rooming situation.
Yep.
Nastia and Shawn roomed together, which we were not overly enthused about, but we went to bed the earliest. So
it worked out perfect because we were psychos at the time.
yeah, everybody was like a little crazy, and like not a fun crazy or a cool crazy. So we were all a little crazy. So I divvied it up by bedtimes, and Sam and I stayed up for breakfast. So we were roommates, and then I put Bridget and Chellsie together because they were just so quiet, and I was like, no, be quiet. Be quiet.
That is very on brand.
Shawn and Nastia are going to go to bed at 7, and Sam and I will be up blasting music.
Yeah.
We'll be writing in our diary till about 11. So that was probably the funniest thing, but Nastia and Shawn were both like, screw you, Alicia.
Yeah.
We're competing against one another, and you make us do this. I'm like,
That's amazing.
I did break it to her, Nastia, I think a couple weeks ago, that I stole her makeup the entire time we roomed together.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's amazing. And you looked great on TV, so it was well worth the theft.
Yeah.
McCready and Roethlisberger have a similar story, but we won't.
We roomed together. We saw it. It was awesome. It was awesome. Well, Bridget, thanks for joining. Hey, how's broadcasting going this year? Are you?
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's awesome. It's so great. I love all the Zoom calls that I get to do. You know, I feel like it's pretty similar. I love it. Oh my God, I love it. I think it's so great. But I do have a meet at 8:30 this Friday, and I'm like, oh, that's late.
Bridget, we have a meet at 10 p.m. on Saturday night. 10 p.m.
Wow, that's so awesome for you guys. I love that for you guys. I would not love that for me, but for you guys,
Coming from parents, that's
Narcolepsy. Sleep.
yeah.
Real.
John's gonna be like, anything from you, Alicia?
Yeah, no.
Hopefully she wakes up real soon.
Yeah. Wait, are you guys on camera?
Probably.
Have you been on camera yet?
We were on camera once. How about you?
Man. So I was on camera last week, and it was my first time being on camera with the at-home studio and whatnot. And I didn't realize. I was like, oh, I have the iPad here, and then the camera. So like my vision. Oh, I looked like I was like dead asleep because I was not looking at the right camera. So my eyes were just like. And they ended up like in my ear. They were like, wrong camera. So all of a sudden, I'm like.
Oh my gosh.
Hello. So
So,
yeah, I'm like all about the at-home studio life.
yeah. Alicia is too, because she doesn't have to see me in person. She loves it.
Oh,
Not true.
that's not true.
I miss you just being at the elbows, jab away.
Totally.
Yo,
Well, Bridget, thanks for joining us. We appreciate this.
thanks for having me.
You can go back to bed now. I mean, it's in the afternoon for Pete's sakes. All
I have work to do, John.
right. Well, good luck selling the lube.
Hey, someone's got to do it, you know?
All right. We'll see you soon.
Ain't gonna sell itself. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, there you go. Surprise number 2. Maybe we'll have more surprises. We'll see.
Definitely surprise number 2 with
So real quick, Shawn, I mean, obviously you're still doing a lot of different stuff. Talk about your YouTube channel and kind of, you got a big social media following. Why should people follow you? What is the draw. I mean, what do you guys do? You and the husband got the YouTube channel. What's it like?
Why should people follow us? I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. We got into this as a yeah, it's sales pitch for myself. It is this weird loophole of a thing that we started trying when Andrew was in the NFL. I got really, really tired of working so commercially, where people would edit you and tell you exactly what you're allowed to say and how you can dress and how you can act. And I felt so scripted my whole life that I didn't feel like I could be me. And then when I met Andrew and we got married, he documents everything. If you were to know him, like literally everything. He's like a one-man paparazzi crew. And he just kind of had this idea, and he started a YouTube channel, and he studied business in college. He has a fascination with analytics and kind of the back end of it. And he found this loophole of a career that could kind of keep us afloat to a certain extent while he bounced around the NFL. And we got to document all the crazy things that we got to do. So it kind of just turned into this documenting of our life, which is crazy. And I love it and hate it at the same time. But we just try to talk about not good things every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not shy about what you talk about. You talk about some very personal things about your miscarriage and stuff like that. I mean, how did you decide to kind of open up in that respect? Because some people look at that as kind of risky.
Yeah, it was a last minute decision for us. I feel like up until that point, we were very, very scripted, and I was very still on edge to share anything personal. I think, like you guys know, in gymnastics, you kind of learn to be a machine. You don't show emotion. You don't say when you're hurt. You don't say when things are hard. You don't show vulnerability. And I think one of my biggest pet peeves with social media and society today is that they paint these pictures of celebrities and athletes as machines and perfection. And there's so much more that we go through as human beings to get to that epitome of success. And when I originally went through the miscarriage, I hit kind of rock bottom. I really didn't know how to deal with it. It was the first time I ever felt grief and pain like that. And it was the first time I didn't know how to like hide the vulnerability. And so I almost, to a certain extent, felt more comfortable talking to strangers on a camera than I did talking to my family. And I remember kind of releasing it to the public and just crying for hours, reading the stories of other people who responded and said, I'm going through the same thing, or I went through it, and thank you for sharing this because I felt alone or isolated. And it just kind of opened this door for us to share that there is a human side to the world that we've just kind of forgotten to share.
I love it. I think it's amazing. I congratulate you for that. I think it's important. People live in this, world where they can't hurt and be honest, and I think that's cool. So good for you. Speaking of roommates, we got another guest. See if we can. Well, I'll be darned. It's still roommate. Nastia, look at Nastia. I should introduce you properly. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll be the roommate. That's fine.
It's more personal to me. Please welcome the daughter of Valerie Liukin, Nastia Liukin. And
Angel, we really appreciate that too.
I love it. And I have the man crush on Valerie. Now, Olympic champion Nastia, thanks for joining us. We were just congratulating Shawn, baby number 2. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can. But yes, so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
I knew a little bit before it was announced, so it was like very hard to just stay like quiet.
button it up.
Sometimes, especially when we were all or virtually together when we had our little reunion thing, and I told everyone to bring their favorite beverage of choice. And yeah. I'm awkwardly moving to another room. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, this is great. We're getting who is that?
running with the computer.
I love that we just got disconnected from her Wi-Fi. Did she have her cord plugged into her computer when she ran the other direction?
My computer was about to die. I'm sorry.
Got it. Hey, so What have you been up to, Nastia? And most importantly, do you still have your ticket to Tokyo? Like all this talk going on right now about the games and are they going to happen? You're supposed to work there. So if you still have a job, that's a good sign.
I do still have a job. I actually just got a new ticket issued a few weeks ago. So I feel like that's a good sign for the flight, obviously, since we never got on the flight last July. So yeah. And then what have I been up to? I moved back to Dallas recently, I guess during this crazy year. So it's been really fun to be able to be back home with, you know, my family here and being close to my parents again. It's been about like 10 years since I left Dallas, I guess, and have lived quite a few different places and cities and states. And just, yeah, I'm happy to be back home and no baby, but a puppy. So that also feels like a big responsibility and trying to train him. And yeah.
Good for you. I think the question we all want answered is Shawn disclosed to us and the world that during the 2008 Olympics, she stole your makeup. And we want to know from your perspective, does that make you angry or are you a little bit proud because she looks great?
A little here. I'm just kidding. Does it make me angry?
I feel it looks so good.
Yeah, you know, like honestly, it makes me feel proud that you thought that I had like good enough makeup to even steal/use, because like Alicia was actually the one that like had all the best stuff that
I couldn't sneak into Alicia's room and
true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I guess I was I was the safer option. But yeah, I mean, I barely wore makeup. Like looking back, it was like I'm pretty sure I could have just like used my finger to do like one little like sparkle eyeshadow situation, like one thing of mascara and hairspray.
Alicia, how was your makeup game back in the day? Were you like one wipe of eyeshadow too?
No, it wasn't.
Mine was like a little bit more extensive.
I learned my eyeshadow techniques from Alicia.
I know how to apply makeup very well, actually. But Chellsie got like way fancier with her eye makeup. She'd have like multiple colors, like mermaid eyes. I'd be like, I got like the basics. I have brown eyes. Purple's a good accent for that. I would go with that, and then I'd be like, that'd be it. I'll put a whole lot of bronzer going on.
Oh yeah, we loved being very bronzed.
Who is the most high maintenance?
In terms of what? Like, I feel like there's a lot of different categories.
Let's go with makeup, high maintenance, and then let's go with just in general high maintenance. In this,
now or then?
You're supposed to throw somebody under the bus right here.
Wait, but when? Like now or then?
Then at the Olympics.
Oh, I would say Alicia, but like not like high maintenance in a bad way. I would just like she was a lot more educated and experienced with wearing more makeup. Like I just like put literally lip gloss on from nothing wrong with CVS lip gloss, you know, but like it was just very, that was the last thing on my mind, I think. And now it's like you look at girls competing and they're like, have their nails painted matching their leotards and red lipstick. Like I could not imagine wearing red lipstick at the Olympics. Like
I would have it everywhere.
Guys, I didn't start wearing lipstick till I was like an adult. And then I realized, I was like, I don't even know how to use lip liner. And then I was like, and all both my sister-in-laws like are very like lipstick wearer type women. And I was like, I feel like I need to wear lipstick. So like mid-20s is when I figured out how to wear lipstick. Not when I was 17.
Yeah.
Eating.
Well, let's bring in another opinion. I feel like you guys, we need somebody else to maybe chime in on this. Sam, we're talking makeup and high maintenance, and I don't know if you heard all of them say that you weren't the most high maintenance, but they think now you are. Do you want to answer that?
I didn't say that.
We did not say that.
I heard. It's funny because I think if my parents were doing this interview, they have this like idea of me that I am like this really high maintenance person, but I lived with Nastia for a year, so I feel like she can tell you I'm actually pretty low maintenance.
I thought you were going to throw me under the bus and say, after living with me.
No.
I think we all are pretty
maintenance.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Like, believe it or not, I feel like it's probably hard to believe.
I do have to say I've spent a little bit of time around you guys, all of you at some point, and you don't seem extremely annoyed by me, which I think is a good sign that you are not that high maintenance. And because, normally, BJ, I lived with BJ at camp for a number of summers, and I can tell you he's very much not high maintenance, but I think I did drive him crazy on more than one occasion.
I do think it's interesting that the person asking who's the most high maintenance is the one that has a 60 to 90 second Starbucks order. Like when he's his request for what he wants in his tea, it's
water, guys.
I was just about to. I was gonna say, like, a lot of us have worked with Jon, and Jon, you have a little bit more time to put your face makeup on when we're on camera for commentating. I'm just saying, like, you take.
I need a lot. Look, I'm not going to argue with you on that. There's no makeup artist on the planet that can make this look good on TV. So you are. They try very hard, though. So, hey, do you guys see each other very often? Do you guys get to, over the last 12 years? I think everybody has this image of, teams that they've grown up with. And you guys were, in my opinion, maybe the most star-studded Olympic team other than maybe the 96 Olympic team as far as what you guys all did before you even got to the Olympics. So people I feel like they act like they know you. And do you guys get to hang out? Do you guys do things together? Are you guys close at all outside of the gymnastics world now that you all have retired from?
Yeah, I think it's so funny because I think we've all thought about this and we've all talked about it a little bit, and it's so cool. Obviously, the Olympics brought us all together in the sport and everything did, but I feel like at the core, especially now, not being competitive athletes, we really are all so similar and we share so many similar interests. Yes, we're at different stages and places in our lives right now, but it's so cool to be able to look back at the Olympics and still see pictures and see videos, but then know that we're all still actually friends. And I'm not sure, obviously I've only ever been on one Olympic team, so I don't know if that's the case, all across the board, but it's really, really cool that this isn't awkward, right? That we're all just we're not oh, weird, haven't talked to her in 5 years. It's very normal for us to be able to keep, I guess, chatting.
Yeah. Sam, how about you? You've tell everybody kind of what you've been up to. I know a lot of people that are watching this probably know, but talk about what you've been doing and what's in your life is like right now.
Yeah. So I'm in a pretty big transition in my life. But I'm really focusing on Beam Queen Boot Camp. It's been fun kind of scheduling those events and putting together projects for all of that. So how can people,
there's a lot of coaches, I'm looking at comments and a lot of people from camp are on and things like that. Tell them about the Beam Queen Boot Camp, which you've actually not asked me to be a guest clinician at, which is kind of weird. I feel like really
would you like to be a coach at Beam? You're a little busy in the summer though.
I am, but I do love, honestly, if I could coach one event outside of the boys at camp, I would pick Beam. Beam is I think you get the most immediate gratification, and my level though is the level 5, 6s, where they're just doing back walkovers and they're almost they're ready for a back handspring, but they're too scared. And you get them to do that first back handspring. It's I know you guys are laughing at me. Go ahead, laugh it up. Laugh it up, but I like it. So
my dad was actually a really good beam coach. He coached me until he got up on the beam once and he was like, whoa, okay. So I don't know how you do this. This is so scary. And I'm like, for him to say that is kind of big deal, but yeah.
That's awesome. How do people find the camp? Is it operating this summer? You ready to crank it up or what?
Yeah, we're working on the schedule now. You can go to beamqueenbootcamp.com, but I kind of finished with Beam being my favorite event and my best event, but I actually almost quit gymnastics way back when because I had so many fears on Beam. So when I retired, I was like, okay, how can I give back to the sport that gave me so much? And I kind of just compiled, all of my philosophies on how to go from hating one event to loving it. And so it's definitely a big passion project for me, and it's really fulfilling.
Cool. Well, good for you. I hope it goes well. Hey, you're a former Bruin. I guess once a Bruin, always a Bruin, right? You are a Bruin. How are they going to be this year? And how about the current Bruin, Nia Dennis, goes viral? It's like an annual thing with the Bruins.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I think this year is going to be really tough for them because they're in LA County and it was a lot stricter with COVID. So they had 19 days where they weren't allowed to train. And then I think 10 days before their first competition. So you guys know, like, putting a floor team together and losing that endurance, I think that they're starting a little bit more behind than other teams. But I think it could benefit them in the long run because they might be a little bit more rested towards the end of season. And I don't know if you saw the meet, but they didn't look too shabby. And Nia Dennis, of course, had such a phenomenal routine. I called it mid-routine that it was going to go viral. So it's cool to see, you know, Reese Witherspoon and all of these people give her and just gymnastics in general the spotlight it deserves.
BJ, didn't you go viral one year? It was really bad though.
It wasn't for a floor routine, I'll tell you that. And it wasn't, I wouldn't call it viral. When you got 20 of your friends laughing at you, photos, that's not viral. John, we need to talk about this off air.
You know who did go viral too for something?
I do like what you said though, because when we were watching the Nia Dennis routine, and my wife said the same thing. She's like, of course it went viral. Look at it. I mean, it's amazing. And it's an annual thing. You can, like, every, February, we've got the Super Bowl, we've got the Daytona 500, and we've got a UCLA floor team that's going to blow up and just break the internet. So I'm going to set my calendar now and look forward to it next year. It's this annual tradition that happens now. So pretty cool.
Speaking of going viral, somebody on this call went viral for something completely unrelated to gymnastics, and that would be Alicia. And from what I remember, it was you knocked somebody out. Can you give a little backstory on that? Because people on this call don't really care that much about your gymnastics, I'm going to be honest with you, but they do care about when you knock some dude out.
It's like my dad's proudest moment of me that I knocked out like one of the linemen at Brown, where I went.
A lineman. You knocked out a lineman. That's a different.
Well, it is Brown, BJ. They aren't known for their.
Known for their.
You knocked out the kicker. That's a totally.
And it was a big party weekend. So I don't know if you watched the video. It's very pixelated. It's still on a flip phone back in the day.
Oh my God.
He falls amongst like empty Natty Light cans. So he had been drinking. And there was like a running joke. Every time I'd go to the football frat, they would measure me. And if I wasn't tall enough, I couldn't go in. And so I was late because I'd come from practice and I just, wanted to hang out with my friends. And he stops me at the door. He's like, "Peszek, you're not coming in." And I was like, "Steve, come on, just let me in." He's like, "You got to get measured." And I was like, "I'm going to punch you in the face." And like the frat president's like to my right, like grilling out. And I'm like, "Marcus, I'm going to punch Steve in the face." He's like, "Okay." And so I did it. Like a sack of potatoes just goes down. And I was like, "Oh, I never did it before."
And did he get up?
He stayed down for quite a bit.
Was he mad?
No, he was hammered. He didn't care. He was like, "What?"
And that's why we were always afraid of
I don't blame you. That's an impressive. BJ, you're in the Marines. Did you ever get in a fight? You ever knock somebody out?
Yeah, once, twice. Yeah, I was on the receiving end of that, not by Alicia. It's actually on my bucket list to get knocked out by Alicia, but maybe one of these days. But yeah, I can't imagine just popping back up, especially if you've watched the video, grainy or not, she gave him a shot. So it's impressive. I need to get back into a regiment of letting Hadley and Willow watch that video, just so they can understand how to pop one of your boys one day if they,
Yeah, good point. Fairly stated. Hey, real quick before we let Sam and Nastia go. Nastia, how's your dad? Everybody that's watching, my gymnastics idol pretty much is Nastia's dad, Valeri. How's Valeri doing? What's he doing? Where's he living? And what kind of helpless wild animal is he killing at this very moment?
No comment to the last question. My parents, I live about 20 minutes away from them. So in the Dallas area, they are probably more obsessed with my dog Harley than I am, which is, it's hard to be. So they currently are dog sitting for me today. What is he up to? I mean, the gyms, you know, there's 2 Bogas here in the Dallas area. Luckily, things in Texas have been a little bit different than Los Angeles County. So the gyms are open, and they actually have their annual competition, the Woga Classic, coming up here in a few weekends. So, yeah, just.
Is he coaching Brazil still, or is that, I haven't followed it closely. Is he done with that, or?
Oh, honestly, that's a good question, because I know it was through the but the Olympics obviously didn't happen. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's so funny. It's like, now that I live here, most of our talk, I guess, is more about, like, I moved into a new house too. So he's just been total dad mode of, like, helping me cut down boxes, or just like the very random things that, you know, he obviously really, I think, enjoys doing, since I haven't lived here in so many years. But yeah, I'm honestly not.
Tell him I said hi, and then remind him who I am, because he won't remember. But that's fine.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Nastia did say she got a plane ticket again. That's good. What did it say as far as your departure date? Did it have a departure date, or did it say, like, you're going to depart on or around July 4th?
No. I'm not.
Did it say you're going to depart when Mars is in retrograde? Or did
I'm scrolling. Oh, here we go. Anastasia Liukin confirmed 2021 Tokyo Olympic flights.
There we go. I like it.
Scrolling. Actually, is there? Oh, yeah. July 17th. Yeah.
Shawn, anybody else on the call actually going to go and be there? Shawn or Alicia or Sam? Anybody?
I'm due that week.
I'm busy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think so.
Dual citizenship if you're.
Okay.
Hey, Sam, how's Mom Luann doing? Is she still doing the college recruiting thing?
Yep. Yeah, she's doing well. Just as funny as ever.
Well, tell her I said hi. And Sam and Nastia, thank you guys so much for coming on and congratulating Shawn on baby number 2 and be a part of the first Drive to Gold show.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Yes, miss all of you guys.
Miss you guys.
Hope to see you guys soon. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, so I was really interested in, like, she said she got the ticket, but sometimes it's pending on when.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to know, since we're talking about, is there going to be an Olympics? Is there not going to be an Olympics? Like, what was the date printed on the ticket? That's kind of what I wanted to get to. Because I didn't know.
Ended. We'll get back to you.
Yeah, I didn't know if it said, hey, you're going to depart on Halloween, but not the Halloween you think. Like, I didn't know what it was going to say as far as when she's going over there. So
I know, Shawn, you gotta get going here in a minute, but we did have one question that I'm kind of curious about. How does Drew like her trampoline?
Oh, she's actually obsessed with it, which is kind of scary. She's a crazy child. She
Is it really
everything. Yeah.
I thought gymnasts, former elite gymnasts, like if you're like me, you boycotted or were sworn against the backyard trampoline. You're okay with the backyard trampoline?
Well, so she's 1, and the trampoline's like 2 foot wide.
Okay.
It's in the living room and has like a net on it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. But yes, I would, except for she is the most like active child and she needs like active stuff.
Yeah. Well, you keep them active, man. Get them tired.
Yeah. That's the goal of the trampoline.
Open invitation when baby number 2 gets here. If you need to just slow down by the gate out here,
Drop her off. Yeah.
We'll just roll her right in. We'll give her own donkey. It'll be great. She'll know you guys are gone. So
yeah.
Well, it's funny because summer camp has basically become like daycare for all our staff and special guests that have kids. We tell them to bring them. We want them to come, right? So again, I know you got a busy schedule and you're going to be pregnant, but if you can make it back to camp this summer, we'd love to have you. But more importantly, good luck. We'll be watching, waiting. If it's a boy, a great name for boy would be John.
Great. Yes.
Girl, if it's a girl, a great name for a girl is John. It's Eunice. Don't be shy. But Andrew, hi, and great seeing you, and good luck with everything.
I will. Thank you, guys. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
Bye, guys.
Well, that was fun. I mean, those random special guests, I had no idea that we would get the entire 2008 Olympic team on.
Pretty cool.
So we got a little time left. I mean, that went about like I expected. I figured it would just take on a life of its own. But one of the talkers that has been talked about a lot in the news lately is the Olympics, obviously, and whether they're actually going to happen. And there's allegedly, I should say, reports out of Tokyo that the Olympics are doomed, I think is the word that some people have used. And you guys have any thoughts on it? We have an interview that we'll get to in a moment, but any thoughts on that issue?
I think everything right now is just hearsay until like there's somebody going over there and, checking out how everything is standing in Tokyo and making sure it's safe for athletes. Because honestly, that's the most important thing, that it's safe for the athletes that are going there, the officials, and all the people that will be working it, making sure it's a safe, place for them all to be. With vaccines being out, I mean, depends how fast people can get vaccinated. I don't know. It's kind of scary to think about it sending a mass group of people and being like, that's the luck that you don't get COVID. But at the same time, like, these athletes are probably dying inside to compete, and having to stretch this out for so long is like mentally and physically exhausting. So I don't know. It's scary to think that you could send that many people there and think nothing's going to happen. But at the same time, you also want it to go down because, like, I miss the Olympics.
Sure. BJ?
Yeah, I think depending on which headline or blog or whatever you click on, you'll get a different perspective. I was reading that in a recent poll, 80% of the people in Japan thought it was a good idea that it be postponed again or canceled altogether. That makes sense because no one knows anything. I think if you listen to that interview that we did, which was great, it was informative because we got to hear about it was a peek behind the curtain at what's going on to make it happen safely. And one of the things we learned in the interview, which is a little bit of common sense, but if you think about Japan and how dedicated they are to structure, and if any country in the world was going to take this on and put all the protocols in place and do the right things down to the last letter to make it happen successfully, not just to get it going, but to make it happen successfully, Japan is the perfect country to take this on. You've got the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, the National Olympic Committee. Tokyo's got two different branches of government. Their metropolitan government and their regular government is talking. They're just poring over all the details. And all of them, I think athletes, coaches, commissions, the government, everyone is eyes forward on making it happen safely. So naturally, the rest of us need to be patient. Then there's the vaccine. It's slowly making its way throughout the world. We don't know what a vaccinated populace looks like, so we just have to wait and see. But I'm encouraged because the right people are on the job. And it doesn't scare me that the population over there thinks it should be postponed. They don't know. We've never done this. As much as I don't like the word unprecedented, that's what this is. So once we have a little bit more information, and the Olympics are 6 months away, right? That's still got a little ways to go. So I think we've got good time to wait and see what gets implemented, what the vaccine's going to do. If it's not only going to crush the virus a little bit, but crush some of the fear and the apprehensiveness that people have. I think if you're an Olympic fan, you can breathe easy. It's not like it's just off. So as much as I've joked about it getting put off and the potential of it being put off, I'm encouraged, and I think that it will happen. So,
Alicia, you should be happy too, because the backup plan apparently is that Florida has offered to host the Olympics instead of Japan. If Japan can't handle it, you live there, so I mean, I'm sure you'll be right in the belly of the beast.
I saw that, and then somebody had put up the stats of like the number of cases in Japan versus Florida, which was like 10 times more.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was here in Florida, so yeah, I'll let all the athletes come here.
There you go, to your house specifically.
My house.
I like that. All right, save a bedroom for us.
Yeah.
So this is the interview. The gentleman we interviewed, this was BJ and I. Alicia was, I think you were at a birthday party.
I was at a 5-year-old birthday party.
And that's much more important. So we interviewed Jon Omori, and if you're very close to the gymnastics world, on the men's side in particular in the 80s, Jon Omori was a national team member, competed at the Olympic trials, and he talks a little bit about that. But he is on the ground in Tokyo. He lives there, and he's working for the USOC as a liaison between a lot of different NGBs, not just gymnastics, but a lot of different NGBs that are going to be bringing athletes there. And so I think the interesting part about this interview is that I kind of didn't expect him to tell us that definitively the Olympics are going to be a go. But I wanted to know, is your job continuing seamlessly as we're heading towards it? Or are you starting to get some vibes or some pushback that, hey, let's pump the brakes, or hey, we're going to have to, you know, take a hard left turn or go to plan, whatever letter they're up to, plan D at this point. So I'm going to share this. And just so you guys know too, I did edit a little bit of this. So if you see some amateur editing going on, that's me, and you're just going to have to live with it. So let me pull this up real quick. And as I mentioned before, my technological genius is not at a very high level, but here it is, Jon Omori with BJ and myself. Very excited, and it's our pleasure to welcome Jon Omori. Jon was a gymnast. We were just speaking off air a number of years ago, just a couple of years ago.
I was, again, training in Tucson, Arizona with Yoichi Tomita at the Gymnastics World. And we I basically was in the '84 Olympic trials, but I was too young basically for that Olympics. Then I graduated high school and actually went to UC Berkeley to compete for UC Berkeley. But the studying and the training was a little bit too much for me, so I actually dropped out of college for 2 years to train specifically in Arizona for the '88 Olympics. I happened to be lucky enough to make the '87 World Championship team in Rotterdam, and then my body just couldn't hold up. So by the time I got to the '88 Olympic trials, I had injuries in my ankle and was not able to make the '88 Seoul team. So that was basically my career in gymnastics. So after I decided to just kind of leave sports for a while and focus on my new career, which was going back to UC Berkeley, getting my finishing up my economics degree, and then I actually moved to Japan and got hired by an investment bank in Tokyo. And that actually started my career in investment banking for the following 29 years. So I basically worked between New York and Tokyo from 1990 up until 2018. The banking system has kind of had its ups and downs, and I decided to leave. And then that's when my gymnastics family came back to me. That would be Ron Brandt. And then he went onto the Olympic Committee, and then he actually called me up and said, "Hey, Jon, we're coming." And I said, "Ron, I've got a yoga session in about 30 minutes. When are you coming?" And the next thing I know it, I'm going to the airport to pick up a busload of United States Olympic Paralympic Committee members, take them to the sites in Tokyo, find them vegan food, find them non-decaffeinated coffee, et cetera, et cetera. And then from then on, basically what's happening is I have become one of two people on the ground for the United States Olympic Committee in Tokyo. So when there's an NGB, a national governing body, federation that really doesn't know Japan, they get passed over to me. I introduce Japan, the business culture, the way to transact, and then I help them find accommodations, training facilities, and then it's kind of morphed into actually working with the Japanese government on what they have, their macroeconomic policy called the host towns. And the host towns basically is the way that the Japanese government can try to stimulate the, quote, sports economy of Japan. And they have budget basically to pass around to all the different prefectures and cities around Japan, from Hokkaido all the way down to Kyushu. And there's over 300 host towns in Japan. And basically what happens is an NGB, a sports federation, will come to Japan, and then they will basically, the city will pretty much sponsor them to come to their city. They will pick them up in a bus and then take them to their city, house them, feed them, provide training facilities, and they'll have some cultural and community exchanges with the kids. You'll see those on Instagram and Facebook where they're actually sitting down with the kids having lunch. It's a fabulous experience, and you can look at actually the U.S. Gymnastics men's team has been doing this for almost 3 years. And then once their pre-games training or their training camps finished, then they move on to either their competition or go back home. And this is again a macroeconomic policy driven by the government of Japan, the Cabinet Secretariat, as well as the city that provides some funding for this training camp. And so that being said, I'm right now working with 11 NGBs, 11 sports federations, to help them prepare for the Olympic Games in July, August of this year, as well as Paralympics in August, September.
Wow, that's a lot on your plate. So what are you doing specifically with these NGBs? And can you tell us what some of the, what are some of the sports and maybe some of the specific challenges with some of the individual sports that you've come across?
Well, like USA Rugby, USA Volleyball men's, surfing, climbing, right now working skateboarding, judo, karate, artistic swimming, and maybe helping some rhythmic gymnastics as well. Basically, as you know, before you go into a foreign country, if there's a big time difference, like right now it's afternoon for you and early morning for me, the athletes will have to come and adjust to the time change, acclimate to the weather in Japan. And for the Olympics, it's going to be very, very hot and humid. And then basically get their rhythm together and prepare for the competition. So that process takes anywhere from 3 to 5 to 10 days, obviously depending on the sport. And therefore, before the Olympic Games, the NGBs want to come 3, 4, 7 days before entering the athletes' village, just basically to acclimate and to recuperate and to get adjusted before they move on to the games. Now, as you know, very, very, very distinctly, what's the difference between a 5th place gymnast and a 1st place gymnast? The amount.
Why you gotta bring up that, John? That's a touchy subject, man. Yeah, go ahead.
It's the fraction is what it takes to make it. And if you can come in a couple of days early, acclimate, get a little bit more rested, a little bit more in tune, that will give you the edge to pop you up into the medal arena. So there's many countries taking advantage of this. The United States is one of them. And basically, that's the purpose of the federation, is to get their athletes acclimated and ready for competition. We have the schedule down to what time they're coming to the country, what time the bus is picking them up, where the 80 pieces of luggage are going, then what time they're going to get to the hotel, what time they're going to sleep, what time they're going to get up, what time they're going to get up for breakfast, what they're eating for breakfast, and then what time is their first training schedule, what time the bus picks up. It's a lot of work, and there's actually, my hat's off to all of the federation staff, the high performance managers that do all this. It's not easy.
I bet. Yeah, BJ and I can't even feed our own children, let alone a whole team of rugby players. BJ, you got a question?
I was just going to say, if you have any spare time at all, which it sounds like you don't, I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. You started talking about, this is when you get up, this is when we eat, this is when we get dressed, and I kind of had PTSD there for a second ago. I was like, I'm looking at lunch box and a rain boots, and I mean, any tips you want to throw in an email, we would go through.
The obvious question a lot in the news lately is, there's somebody over there, I don't know if it was you, John, I'm going to maybe call you out. No, but somebody in Japan said they don't think it's going to happen, and I don't know who that person was, or maybe it wasn't even somebody in Japan, but how the last year's been, but then also, is it look good for this summer? Is everything you're involved with and everything you're seeing there, boots on the ground, telling you that, hey, this Olympic Games is going to happen?
Well, I mean, so from a personal perspective, it depends on what news headlines you read.
I was just going to say, it literally depends on what you click on. I'll read one site, and it's like full steam ahead. And then the next header is all stop. It's not happening. So that's where we're at. Is please shed some light on this.
So actually, I have no light on this. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm not in those meetings. And what I do is I side with the athlete. Stepping back, they had a gymnastics event November 8th of last year, and where you had China, the United States, Russia, and Japan all convening. They had a friendship competition in Tokyo Gymnasium in Yogi Park, and it was pretty restrictive in terms of the COVID-19. The U.S. team came in on a chartered plane. They went to immigration on a separate route, basically without any contact with the general public. They went on a COVID-19 restricted bus where there's plastic, everybody's separated, the air conditioning's running, and then they got to their hotel, and they went into a separate entrance away from the public. And then when they went up, each country had a time that they reserved for the elevator, so they don't get into contact with anybody else.
Wow, that's next level.
Each country had their own floor, and then you had to stay on your floor. You could not go out to get a Coke, could not go out to Starbucks to get a coffee. There was actually a security guard at the elevator saying, sorry guys, unless I get permission from somebody. Anyways, it is what it is. That's what they had to go through. And that was kind of the trial run for the Olympics. They took, I guess, the protocols from that event and then created a general protocol list. And it was a very successful event. There was no issues, no problems. They came in, they left, but it wasn't really that much fun for the athletes. And, they got to compete, but you stayed in your room. And so hopefully it's not going to be that bad, but that seems to be the worst case scenario. And in terms of, from what I see on the ground, I'm preparing. We are discussing, okay, We have to take temperatures before they come into the cafeteria. Then we go on the bus. They take temperatures again before they go into the arenas. Then they have to write down, how do you feel today? Do you have any sniffles? How is your condition? And then all that data is recorded. And then from there, if something happens, then we have the process of what the procedures are if someone does contract COVID-19. And then from there, where does the information get recorded? So Japan is very systematic. And if any country in the world can handle this, it's going to be Japan, because they're very organized. You can Google the Japanese train system, running 2 million people in and out of Tokyo every single day, and how all the trains are on time. You can set your watch to the train coming, versus other cities where you have no idea whether or not the train's coming. But anyways, they're very good at that. And the comments from many high performance managers, et cetera, are, if anybody can do this, Japan can do this. And so there's actually a lot of confidence that Japan can pull this off. Now, that being said, for the athletes, it's not going to be the same sort of experience, unfortunately, because they're going to be very restricted in their bubble. But after, if they're in country for more than 14 days, then they're free to do whatever they want to do, as long as everything's negative.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean to jump in there, but so as far as your job though is concerned, you haven't felt any hesitation. You guys are you're plowing ahead, and we're going to make this happen.
Yes, basically. Although all of my events in January were canceled, all of my events in February were canceled, and all of my events in March have been canceled. So,
BJ, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the one consistent sort of thread that I came upon in reading about the upcoming event was the protocols and the steps being taken. And I'm glad you mentioned the fact that Japan is very systematic, and down to the last detail, they'll be, if they can't get it right, no one can. And I think that's the sentiment here amongst USA Olympic fans, is that Japan will make this happen. They will figure out a way to make this happen. And like I said, the common thread that I've stumbled upon is that the protocols, the meetings, the dialogue going on, the data, the research, everything being recorded and studied is all in place to pull it off. And then you said yourself, you guys are full steam ahead. Let's focus on what we can control. Let's do our thing. And Yule's a perfect example of that. Let's just do our thing and get ready. So that's encouraging to me. For someone like myself who desperately wants this Olympics to happen, and I don't really have a dog in the fight other than cheering in my living room, watching on TV. So it's good to hear you say that, because that's the kind of reassurance that people really want. Instead of hunting for headlines and hunting for a thumbs up, find that. So it's good to hear you mention that your part, while it's a small part, you're full steam ahead and you're planning on doing what you need to do to be ready.
Absolutely. And we focus on what we need to do, not what we can't do.
Yeah. Hey, John, I find it interesting too, when the pandemic kind of hit and masks became a big thing, and there's some controversy on should you wear them, should you not. I remember going to Japan many times in the 90s, and wearing masks, as I understand it and as I remember it, has always been part of the Japanese culture. Like I remember always seeing people in the subways, and somebody had told me, and I don't know if this is true, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that if someone is sick in Japan, a cold, a flu, whatever it might be, they take that personal responsibility and they go ahead and wear a mask so they don't get other people sick. Is that accurate? And is this kind of just been an extension of what they do as a culture?
That is 100% accurate. And what they don't want to do is bother their neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the culture. Sorry, they call it meiwaku kakaranai, meaning I don't want to bother you. So I'm sick, I'm going to wear a mask, and so that you can stay healthy.
That's amazing.
That's pretty good. That's just like all the people I see on Twitter. Just exactly like everybody on social media. I just don't want to bother you. Yeah, I've always found the Japanese people to be some of the kindest, most humble and enjoyable. Outside of yourself, John, I mean, I've never really. No, I'm kidding. No, they're some of the most enjoyable people to be around. Just super kind.
Yeah, I mean, and they have this term omotenashi, and you can ask any of the athletes that have come for training camps and pre-competition acclimation. They're treated with red carpet treatment.
Yeah,
it's just amazing the way that they're treated, and it just generally it creates a more rounded experience. Because they actually offered cultural tours. When the surfers came, the girls dressed up in kimonos and did a little tea ceremony. Anyway, this is something that we've wanted to do since we were 6 years old, type of thing. And so the experience becomes broader than just coming in, training, competing, and leaving. And hopefully, and that's the goal of the Japanese is basically to give them an experience that they will remember for the rest of their lives, and they would be glad to come back. And you can ask any of the athletes. I think most will tell you that they had a wonderful experience, and not necessarily this outside of the competition, whether they did well or not well.
Yeah. Well, usually the Japanese beat up on us in the gym, so that you bring that up. I went to Japan with the junior national team in 1987, and I think Yuichi was there. Actually, he was one of the leaders of our delegation, and we spent 2 weeks there. And we went to Kyoto for a while, and we trained right in the gym with the Japanese athletes. And we went to a high school, and they taught us how to do calligraphy, and we were right in with their culture, and they were so nice. They took us out to some of the most interesting, I'll just say interesting food that up until I was 16 or 17 that I've ever had in my life. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that thing is still wiggling. I'm pretty sure. But it was utterly amazing. And that brings me to the question. You mentioned it a little bit. Are the athletes going to get much of that Japanese hospitality, given how the Olympics look like or appear they're going to have to be run in July, August?
Unfortunately, if we're talking today, absolutely not. They're going to have the experience of going to the hotel and to the gym, and that's it, unfortunately. And what we're with the host towns in the pre-games training, basically, if that's the case, then we will have grocery runs. We will have things that make their preparations a little bit more comfortable. But it's going to be very restrictive. On the other hand, what's happening is the host towns are actually inviting them back after their games. So once your competition is done, come back to our city, and we'll do the cultural and community exchanges.
Wow.
And at that time, the quarantine is off. Right after the 14 days quarantine period is done, everything's negative. You can travel around Japan and do whatever you want. And so they're actually inviting them back. And they will provide a red carpet treatment and basically a pretty nice vacation, actually.
That's amazing. Go ahead, BJ.
Well, no, I was just saying if there was ever a reason to dig deep and make an Olympic team, that sounds really, really, really awesome.
Yeah, that does. Is there any chance, John, that as we have the vaccine is hopefully getting distributed in some parts of the United States. A lot of parts, I guess, the cases are starting to go down. Hopefully that trend for all of us continues around the world. Is there any chance that things could, from how you described it right now, could loosen up as we get to the start of the games? Could we get more fans in the stands? Could we get a little bit more wiggle room for the athletes to move around, things like that?
Again, I look at the news, and it looks like they're going to get vaccines for the 300, for the 125 million people, and everything's being set up, right? So everybody in line gets their vaccine. So it seems like everything is going forward. But if we're talking today, it's not going to happen. And if we're talking 6 months from now, we'll prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So it's still just a matter of hoping things will work out and systematically trying to control everything. But right now, it's very difficult to even try to think about the spectators being able to participate.
What's the vaccine rollout been like in Japan? Is it starting to get rolled out? Has it been efficient? I know in the U.S. it's a big cluster, but how is it over there?
Well, right now, again, they're still doing all the preparations, and I guess they are starting to roll it out to medical care workers first, and then it will go, to the elderly, and then all the way down the line. Mm-hmm. And so again, the process is in place. It's being systematically distributed, and so therefore I'm not too worried about it. We should probably, I'm not sure what the timing is of when there will be a vaccine available to myself. But again, you look at our numbers in Tokyo. Okay, there's I think how many millions of people, and we there was I think a couple thousand people per day, and then it's dropped down to below 500 per day. So it's pretty contained. Mm-hmm. So there's not a rush to get the vaccine. But again, it will be systematically distributed. And I'm not too worried about that at this point right now.
Yeah. BJ, you got anything?
No, I mean, this has all been fascinating. And it's honestly, again, exactly what I wanted to hear from someone who, like you said, you're right there in it, and you're moving forward. I was going to ask, kind of just to pivot away from the cuisine in Japan to your time at UC Berkeley. Did you ever get over to Top Dog at UC Berkeley, like for a hot dog there, that little dive restaurant just outside of campus? I was there a couple of years ago, and again, you're talking about cultural experiences. It was really...
We might not have been there. We might not have been there on Johnson's.
Yeah, no. I don't think I've heard of Top Dogs, but there was Blondie's Pizza.
Okay, so I heard about Blondie's Pizza.
Okay, sorry, that was before your time.
Top Dog, it was like you go in to get this hot dog, and again, everyone in Berkeley was so nice and so welcoming. I was there to watch the gymnastics team train, and then all of a sudden I'm being screamed at. What do you want? Do you want sauerkraut? It was, I don't know, that just came to mind, and I didn't know if it had been there when you were there. If not, if you ever get back to Berkeley, you got to check it out.
There you go. There you go. Hey, taking another pivot to gymnastics in particular, Kohei Uchimura is a hot topic, obviously, in the world of gymnastics. Arguably the greatest gymnast maybe to ever live. On the men's side, he's training, as I understand it. You got any inside scoop on the men's Kohei Uchimura in particular? How's he doing?
Well, I know that he's training, and I don't have specific contact with him. And so, again, the guy is, he's focused, right? And he's actually, very interestingly, has become not a spokesman, but he's been very proactive in his support for the Olympics. And his speech at the end of the friendship event they had in November, and he reiterates this in the news, is, guys, okay, yes, there's a pandemic. Okay, it's very difficult. But let's focus on what we need to do to get through it, to get above it, and to win. Mm-hmm. And that was his speech to the entire audience. There wasn't much audience, but it was also on the news. And he's out on the news saying that. And, this is a very conservative, systematic gymnast out in the public saying this, which I thought was a fantastic step in terms of, I guess, his kind of persona, not just in the background doing his thing, but actually stepping up and being a proponent of the athletes that are training their butts off. And have been for years for the Olympics.
What's his level of celebrity over there? I mean, from a distance, I would think he's an icon. He's like Jordan almost. Is he a pretty big deal in Japan?
Yes, he is. Obviously, because of his gold medals. And up until now, I haven't really seen him in the media that much.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it's actually I raise my eyebrows and say, oh wow, he's actually stepping outside of the gym to become a proponent of the athletes who are sacrificing so much to prepare for the Olympics.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you joining us. That's fascinating to hear what's happening on the ground. I'm excited to see Olympics. I'm hopeful that it happens, and I know BJ, I bet you would agree with me. We're pumped to see some athletes out on the floor competing, and certainly appreciate you giving the insight to what's going on over there.
Yeah, well, sorry, I can't be that much because I actually don't know what's going on. It changes every day.
No, it was great. I mean, just the fact that you're doing your job and you're pushing forward the way you're doing it, I think says a lot about the approach right now and what the outlook is. I think what we've read and seen is maybe largely over exaggerated in that the attitude, it sounds like with what you're doing and inside that group of people that are trying to make it happen is, hey, we're going to forge ahead and find a way is what I take from this conversation.
Exactly.
Well, Jon, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us on Drive to Gold Radio, and we appreciate the insight. And good luck the next 6 months. We'll keep tabs and keep in touch. Hopefully, we can hear some more news, positive news.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, forging ahead, preparing for the worst, and hoping for the best.
Well, there you have it. Jon Omori from the Boots on the Ground in Tokyo, and I think it was a long interview, but I think the takeaway I had was his job has not hesitated. And as far as the people organizing the Olympics and doing the jobs over there, I think the idea that they're preparing to shut it down is a little off base. What do you guys think?
I definitely agree. I think he is the best insight out of anybody, and I think his contribution is invaluable, and they're powering ahead, and I respect that, and they're not letting anything get in their way, and they're trying to make it work because they know how important this event is.
No, I agree completely. I think it's very telling that someone has a direct link to doing a part in making the games happen is still on his 9 to 5, and that carries way more weight for me than if you were to just ask someone, on the phone, hey, do you think the Olympics is going to happen? I don't know. Do you think it should happen? Well, I don't know. That's what most people think, but he's in it and full steam ahead. So that's very encouraging to me. And obviously it's a fluid situation. Obviously it's an ever-changing situation, but that's his interview tells me we're going to get there. Will it get pushed back again? Maybe, but I think we're going to get there.
Yeah, I think it's funny to talk to him about the Japanese culture and how different they are than basically our world in America right now, which is so divisive, and there's so much just vitriol that at least you see in the news and on social media. He said they have 500 cases per day it's down to at this point, and they're still in a state of emergency. And he said you don't have to make a law or a rule. People just kind of follow it.
That was the part that really hit me was when he said that no one went on TV and said, you have to do this or else.
Yeah.
It's not like there's armed guards in the street or anything. There's a national state of emergency and people just go, all right, let's do our thing. And I thought to myself, wow.
All right, so we're winding up the show. So next week we're going to be back on a Wednesday. We're going to shoot for 1 o'clock on every Wednesday afternoon, and we have not nailed down a guest. We will get another Olympic guest, and obviously we're all gymnastics background as far as the host of the show, but this is supposed to be a more broader Olympic show. So we're going to bring in athletes from other sports, and hopefully you guys will find some interest in that. If you're gymnastics people, hopefully that'll still be interesting. And we're going to look for some unique personalities, and obviously we'll probably have a gymnastics slant to it in a lot of shows, but we're working on a guest. But also I think we're going to talk about one of the talkers next week is just about college sports and Olympic sports, and how a lot of these Olympic sports are being dropped at the college level right now. And it's been a very something very close to my heart, because Minnesota gymnastics has been scheduled to be dropped, and we'd love to fight it and find a way to save it. But it's not just gymnastics; it's hundreds of sporting opportunities across the country. And I think it'll be interesting to talk about, if we can get somebody that's kind of in the belly of the beast to see their thoughts on it, and see what direction we can go. So we're going to shoot for that next week, as well as hopefully an entertaining guest. So the end of the show, we're going to try this, and it's funny because we can see live viewers, and I'll tell you, when Shawn logged off, we lost a lot of our viewers in like droves, which I get it. Like I'll probably be me too. I'm tuning in. We had the whole 2008 Olympic team. Alicia, how cool is that? I mean, I suspect you don't see your teammates all that often, even virtually.
No, I mean, that mini reunion was great. We all try to keep in contact as much as we can. But it was nice to like see everybody's faces. Usually it's just like a voice note or a text. And so be able to see them and get to chat was awesome.
Oh, and next week we also, and BJ, you'll love this, we got to make our Super Bowl picks. So this is not just Olympic sports. This is, we like to go out, out of the toy box once in a while of the Olympics and talk other sports. So start thinking about, we'll pick up, we'll pull up MGM Grand website or something, and we'll get all the bets you can make, coin toss, and we'll collectively make our predictions. And you can pretty much take them to the bank. BJ knows my gambling record is unbelievable. And if you do the opposite of me, you're guaranteed to be rich.
Your gambling record's consistent, if nothing else. So.
Exactly. So it should be fun. So as we end the show, we were just texting during the Amore interview. Do we have something we can give away? Like, clearly our show prep is at an elite level. It's a lot like when Alicia prepared for the Olympics. We're going to end the show this week with a trivia question that pertains to the actual content of the show. So if you're still listening and you listen to the whole show, this is your chance to chime in. And the first correct answer on our Facebook stream, we're going to get you a prize. And it can be an autographed picture of Alicia Sacramone. It could be an autographed picture of Brian Jones, an autographed picture of, no, we don't have autograph. Alicia does. And maybe we'll come up with a couple ideas and give you options, because clearly we have thought this through. So here's your question. The question is, from the content of the show, who picked the gymnast roommates at the 2008 Olympics? Who designated roommates? Was it the code? I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention to that part of the show. I dozed off. So if you answer the question in our stream correctly and you're the first one, and you don't have to do it right now, it could be somebody later on too. But don't be late if you want to win an amazing prize. I might give away my car.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I'm going to give away my middle child.
Well, here's the thing. I drive. Oh, we got some correct answers.
Yeah, we do.
Liv Dehan Beck. I just probably butchered your name. I apologize. You are the first person to chime in with a word. No, my car is and I'm just, my two cars are the best cars on the road. They're paid for. And I'm like, I don't want to get a new car. I don't want to spend, I've gotten to that point. I guess that makes me an old man. And my wife's like, you need a new car. I drive a 2002 Volkswagen Passat. It's turbo. It's amazing. I put my foot up on the dash, just drive, talk radio. It's unbelievable. And my wife and I were talking like, honey, Kelly Blue Book it and see what it says my Passat's worth. And it doesn't look bad. I mean, it looks like a normal car. And she goes, all right, I'll check it. And so she jumps on there and she tells me, and do you guys want to guess on what, did I already tell you what it's worth?
No, you haven't told me.
Go ahead, take your guesses. And if you're listening and you want to guess, if you nail it, I will give you a good prize if you can nail what Kelly Blue Book said my 2002 Volkswagen Passat is worth.
A warm bag lunch. I don't know.
My cousin Karina just said, I love that car.
$1,200.
Oh, let's just say that's generous.
Really?
Let's put it this way. We bought our 3-year-old one of those electric Jeep dealies, and it's cost more than Kelly Blue Book said my car was worth.
$100?
$250.
Wow.
Oh, God. Can you believe it? Yeah, but I tell you, I'm like, I'm driving that car until I have to call AAA on the side of the road. I'm not doing it. I'm being stubborn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Anyways, any final comments while we say goodbye? It's been a fun 2 hours, the first show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. You can certainly follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter, at Drive to Gold. Instagram, same thing. Go to our Facebook page, the Drive to Gold Facebook page. Please follow us there. That's where the show will stream live every week. We're trying to also get it on some other platforms, but again, technologically kind of handicapped. So, just give me some slack on that. But in the meantime, please follow us there and get ready for next week. Any comments, guys?
I'm a little shocked that with all the makeup talk that we got into today, that Alicia's hair back in the day didn't get more run today on the show. Because I say that because I feel like she got to Beijing and the next day here in the US, every girl had their hair fixed like Alicia's. It was on that level of like, when did the new Jordans come out? And then the next day people had it was a big deal. So I thought we were going to go there. We didn't. It's a lost opportunity in my eyes. That's how I feel about it.
Maybe we can address it next show or the next Olympic reunion. We do.
A very important issue for sure.
Very important issue. I'm very influential in the hair category, as you can see.
I like that.
My hair is so dirty right now. I maneuvered it to not look gross, but it was crispy because I had hairspray in it. I went to Pilates this morning. I'm gross.
You're fine. Yeah, I think you're doing I need a haircut. We'll talk about that too in the next show. So real quick before we go, we'll see you next week. And there was something else I wanted to add to what you said, BJ or Alicia. I can't remember. But we got to show them, and I thought of this when we had the 2008 team on. We got to find "Don't Throw Alicia Under the Bus."
Oh yeah,
remember that?
Maybe my finest work ever. We will try to find that, and we'll patch that in. But in the meantime, thank you guys for watching. It's been a lot of fun, and we will hope to see you all next week. So long.
Just